Hello everyone, Gainer here from Property Made Simple, where we share extensive property knowledge for you guys. And we are trying to build a property learning community for everyone as well. So today is our episode whereby you ask and we answer, whereby anything you can just ask regarding about property related questions, and you can reach us through our social media. We have been posting a lot of different Instagram posts, Facebook posts, right? You can reach out, by commenting or making an inquiry at one of the posts, or probably you can just directly PM us through our Facebook, stuff like that. And once we get all these different questions, we will try our best to get all the information provided, right? And then we will answer you guys through this you ask and we answer video as well. Okay, so today there are actually 3 different questions. 2 of those actually came from the same person, and another one is from another person, of course, right? so let's dive down. The very first question, we actually have Sabrina, right, who actually directly PM us through the phone. And she's asking this question whether both she and her husband wants to buy a HDB flat, right? So she's thinking about putting herself as the owner, whereas her husband as the occupier. So her question is whether her husband, right, or the occupier is able to buy a private property by himself or herself, right? So to answer this question actually is very simple. Yes, of course. Why? So I just want to share with you why people wants to do that, right? Why a husband and wife wants to put one of those just as the occupier and the other person as the owner, right? So basically, it's because the person who is the occupier is able to buy a private property without paying ABSD. So that is the main purpose why we are doing it, right? But the only disadvantage, probably I won't say bad, but I'm just saying that the disadvantage is that you have to wait for the 5 years MOP, right? So it's just like you buy any resale flat or a new flat, you have to wait for the MOP period, right? So it is not only the owner that has to wait, the occupier itself also has to wait for the 5 years before he's able or she is able to buy another private property without selling the HDB. Okay, so I hope that this question probably answers quite a lot of questions. I mean, for our listeners, our audience, probably you also might be thinking of doing this as well. So this is something I think is very related. Right, so the next question from Sabrina, because we actually had a long conversation, so I'm trying to pick out some of those relevant ones that I think is very important to share to you guys as well. So she's asking also, currently the property prices are really on an upward trend. So is this, a very good time for, a buyer to buy? But I think to answer this question is really very subjective, right? Because having said that, we really don't know following year, the next 2 years, stuff like that, how will the property market be, right? If I know, then probably if I have the crystal ball, then everyone will be looking for me, right? But I don't have, so I don't know. I don't know what's the property prices, but I can probably just share with you guys that if, yes, no doubt property prices now is on the increase, but I think at the end of the day, you really have to boil down to what is your real objectives. Are you buying for own stay or are you buying for investment? And then you also, if you are buying for investment, then probably you need to have a few ways of concepts or methods to really identify whether, the prices that you're buying in is still a good buy, right? And if you're buying for own stay, then of course you have to weigh in your objectives as well. At the end of the day, I think what you really need to understand is that how long you need to hold this property. Because if you're buying at the price that is right? Because at the end of the day, you want to sell your property, and if the market is really moving to a new high, then most likely you won't be affected. But if the market is going downtrend in the next 1, 2, 3 years, we don't know, then it also have to reflect back on the property price that you are buying currently, whether it's the right price, right? Because at the end of the day, you also need to know financially how long can you hold. So if you are buying a property investment and you are your investment horizon, your financials can only last you for 3-4 years, stuff like that, then it can be a little bit risky, right? But of course, if you can last a little bit longer, then you can tide through. If there is a downward trend, then you probably have to hold a little bit longer for the property market to move back upwards. Then I think probably you won't be in a bad shape as well. So I think these are things that you really have to take note. Okay, so the next person is this person. Let me just read through, right? Let me go through. Oh yeah, Kingston, right? Kingston actually directly PM me as well through our Facebook, right? And his question is actually, I think, quite a valid question, because I think most of the owners, buyers will probably ask this question. So his question is actually, what is your commission? And I think that is very good for me to also try to answer this to the audience as well. So basically, in the market, there are quite a lot of different charges. The standard rate for selling is definitely 2%. But then again, some of the owners out there or sellers, probably you will be able to see some of the companies, stuff like that, or probably some agents offering you lower commission as well. So I think at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong, but I think what is really very important is for you not just to look from the monetary point of view, which is important, I do understand, but I think it's also very important for you to look at the experience and how that agent is able to value add to you, right? Because if that agent is able to value add to you, as in able to help you to achieve a much higher price, then I think it's worth for you to consider, right? So take for example, if let's say you're selling a $1 million property, right? And 2% is probably 20,000, right? 1% is 10,000, right? So we are talking about difference of 10,000. So you have to understand why you're paying this extra 10,000 to make it for 2%, which is a standard market rate. And understand whether is this agent really able to achieve much more than this, right? Because I think this is something you really need to consider, because the experience of the agents in terms of how he's able to fetch or value add, fetch a better price, really makes a difference. Because there are some agents, probably yes, or probably some companies, right? It's very subjective for me to say out the names, right? But they probably going for a flat rate, stuff like that. But you must understand that their business model is volume, right? So would they want to focus in helping you to achieve a better price? I don't know, right? It really depends on how you look at them, right? So, but you must understand that their business model will be volume, right? Whereas some agents probably be also want volume, but I think for them to justify the 2% or even more, it's really the experience that you're tapping on, is really the, how he's able to value add to you. I think these are also very important factors for you to look at, because at the end of the day, I believe that sometimes you yourself probably also have some bad experiences, trying to go for, lower monetary. Like for me, I also did experience, I probably bought something over online that I thought was very cheap, but when I received the product, at the end of the day, it wasn't really that good, and I have to pay again for a better price to get a better product. So I think it really depends on how you look at it. Okay, so thank you so much. I think probably I've already answered these 3 questions. And if you guys have any questions, do not worry, because this you ask and we answer kind of initiative has always been in our Facebook page, has always been in our Instagram, right? So just, if you see any post that is very interesting and you want to highlight something, ask something, you can just, comment at that post and we will help you to answer. And we will also get your inquiry and also do a similar video like this and help to answer to the audience for you guys as well. So I hope you guys love this episode, and we will see you in the next video. Okay, bye bye.